too much to be cozy. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming, especially in such a cold night. Feel free to move, to get yourself comfortable. Feel free to ignore my voice. So before we start, as you saw, I wanted to bring, there is so much incredible wisdom that is many times forgotten or misunderstood, and today's quote is from Socrates. I know that I know nothing. You may have heard that before. Did you? It's kind of famous, right? And I understand. In school, I heard the first time in school, and I said, what what does that mean? But I thought, okay, I'm just a kid, so I may not understand it. So I grew older, and I tried to see how people how mention this line or how they use this thought. What does that mean? And I realized most people use it in a sense that I'm pretty sure is wrong. They normally use it in the context of academical erudition. They say, oh, I'm just so humble. I know nothing, If Socrates, which was the wisest man on earth and in his time, said that, then means that I don't know nothing, but I do something to know something. Over time, then I rediscovered Socrates. I don't know if you know, but the guy is pretty amazing, completely misunderstood. We only have the record from Plato, his student. And there's a lot of fascinating things about what he said and how he said it. And I really like this one because it has way more depth than the regular sense we understand it. So beyond, obviously, the idea that personally I don't think it makes any sense to say I know that I know nothing. It's an absurd. Why would anyone say that? And on the top of that, why the wisest man on earth would say I'm an ignorant? What does that mean? I think it has a very profound implication, what we was trying to say with that. And it relates profoundly to meditation. It's actually very Zen. I don't know if you are aware of the tradition, Zen Buddhism. They have their own style of doing things, and it is very Zen. They use koans, which is some sort of riddles. They are not supposed to be solved. It's just a way to discover your mind in a way. And this is pretty much one of them because it doesn't make any sense. The logic of the sentence, I know that I know nothing. It's just obviously what's about it. Start making a lot more sense when the invitation of meditation is to just observe things without conceptualize. That it will be a great difference from the regular life of humans. We normally do a lot of things at the same time. When we walk, we are thinking on this, on that. Our mind is very busy. And when someone reports to have a bright moment, a moment of deep feeling, there is very little thing happening in the rational mind. It's more like a direct exposure of something that it is there already. Like if you go to the street and it's cold, it is cold. You don't need to think, oh, it is cold. It's redundant. Well, in the same way, the most important thing in our lives is this exactly, that we're here living. This very moment is the only moment, and yet our mind is all the time pushing us out of it. And then something that I suggest people to do, because I think it's fantastic, is to try to think about this moment. Not in a way that you use your memory to judge or criticize things, but in the sense of what is happening. Talk to yourself. Okay, I hear water. I think I'm gonna change my position. I think it's just plain useless. And thinking and meditation is quite a big deal. Meaning that when people try to understand meditation, they go into the same problem that Socrates was exposing, that you're not going to understand it in the regular sense. You're not going to find logic or a timeline in which you do meditation better or you reach certain thing. It looks like. But when you just sit, and this is obviously an invitation to do it already. Meditation doesn't need to be formal or serious. Just letting this moment be as it is and just noticing things that are happening without attempting to change anything or manipulate or control. So simple that our mind goes crazy. So we sit to meditate and most people complain that they can only hear their own thoughts distracting them. Well, that's fantastic wisdom. That's very much related to what Socrates was saying, to notice the futility of thinking. It's not that it is not useful, of course it is, but if you have to check the thoughts in your head, which is a great meditation for most people, you will notice that most of the thoughts that you think are not really useful. There is a great revelation in that. Only that makes a very busy mind meditation a very important moment in your life. So there is this moment we are living. You cannot really not live it because you cannot go anywhere else. You're here and now. The only thing that gets in the middle, that creates all the suffering and confusion, is our own mind, our own thinking. So it's not to suppress. It's just to acknowledge that comes and goes. And it's always taking you away from this moment to your past, to your future, to some imagination. You don't need to do anything, just let this moment be as it is. When you suddenly pay attention, your presence will make the thoughts disappear for certain gaps. But out of habit, your mind will come back, and it's totally fine. Instead of fighting with it, trying to silence it forcefully, just notice, like you notice the sounds or the sensations in your body. Just notice that a thought occurs. Notice when the thought starts and when it finishes. Wait for thoughts to come. If they don't come, then just enjoy the peaceful silence of being here and now. And like a cat staring the mouse hole, waiting for the mouse for long periods of time. We're just sitting and trying to catch how thinking starts without getting involved with it. How do you notice your thoughts? Where are they? How they appear to you? How do you perceive them? It's like a voice that talks to you. Is it an image? If it's a voice, how is the sound of that voice? Is it loud, soft? Does it speak fast? And if you see images, where are they? Where is that screen? Is it in front of your eyes? With a playful attitude, with curiosity, try to remain so still and so vigilant, like the cat, that you can clearly see, like fireworks, you can clearly see when it starts, how the thought starts. Does it have colors, sounds, and how it disappears? Notice everything about your thoughts. If it's a voice that talks to you, how big is that sound? Is it in one ear, the other? Can you locate that voice? Can you feel the movement of thoughts? How is it quiet and calm before they appear? And they move. And disappear. Your body completely relaxed, at ease, comfortable. You're just watching your mind activity like a display of 3D entertainment. Be so alert that the thoughts don't pull you into their own daydreaming. Be so alert you can clearly see the space where they appear and disappear. Your breathing flows smoothly and gently while you're watching your mind exactly with the same intensity like when you watch television. You're relaxed and effortlessly noticing every detail, every perception. Notice the space where your thoughts are happening. They are not happening far away from your body, somewhere else. Notice the borders of that thinking space. These thoughts, images and sounds appear in certain space around you, inside you. Notice the border of that space. Is it a ball shape space, oval? Try to notice exactly the dimensions of the space where mental activity happens. And if so, notice the space that is beyond your mental activity. Feel the space beyond your thinking. The whole space of the room where your thoughts and images don't appear. Notice the contrast between the space where your thoughts don't appear and the area where your thinking happens. Your body is completely relaxed. Your breath flows slowly. It's a very passive game. Now, as you clearly notice the space of thinking activity around your head, inside your head, that is not beyond. When you breathe out, let your thoughts, let your mind merge with the space around you. Let your thoughts fly freely. Your body is steady and relaxed. Your breathing is deep, calm, and easy. And no matter the activity in your mind, when you breathe out, let your thoughts fly like bubbles in the sky. Let your mind merge with all the space around you. Every time you breathe out, let your mind become bigger and bigger, like an ocean of space. Where your thoughts can freely disappear. Whatever thoughts may come, when you breathe out, just let them go without any effort. The natural state of your mind, it's calm. Let your thoughts disappear in this huge space. And if they don't come, then just rest. Your mind is huge like a sky, like an endless sky. And if a thought comes, it also goes like a bird flying in that sky without leaving a trace. Mental activity disappears on its own. Feel your mind huge in space, limitless. And thoughts cannot do anything about it. Come and go. Rest your attention in the empty space of the mind. Your mind is huge, like an ocean, like an endless sky. Feel the presence, the aliveness, the stillness. Your mind is so big that the universe appears in it. All the galaxies, all the planets are inside the space of your mind. Just relax and rest in this luminous emptiness, vibrant aliveness, presence. The less you do, the better. Your thoughts are so incredibly small compared to the size of your mind. Every thought, every sensation, every sound, your body, the sun, everything appears in your mind. The more restful you are, the deeper the peace. Every sensation, like in a dream, appears inside your mind. Everything you perceive is yourself. When you recognize your mind to be as vast as the universe, everything appearing inside of you, then nothing can distract you. No thought, no sensation, no experience leaves a trace and the empty, luminous sky of your mind. We're about to finish. Just let your mind and your body rest in this open, empty space, limitless, peaceful, aware. should be an interesting fact that we have so many thoughts all day. And it's kind of strange for most people just to observe them, to notice them. We're all the time unaware. We just don't notice we're thinking. It's just with this little trick. This little glitch in Matrix where you can feel the space beyond the activity of your mind. So all our suffering is in here, and just move an inch outside. There's no suffering. There's no suffering in the corner of that room, the room. The problems are like flies. Leave alone the sense of aliveness that comes from just noticing it. Sounds like waking up. We're constantly daydreaming after daydreaming, closing our attention into mental activity, and we go around barely noticing minimal so you can move. How interesting. Just takes a few moments to sit and don't even need to try to stop what's happening in your head. Just notice what is not. Just for a second, stop concentrating in your mental activity. It's actually passive. People, I need to concentrate so hard in something else because I don't like the thoughts that I have in my head. How can I, the last Thursday someone came, my mind is very busy, how can I get rid of it? It's very simple, just move your attention from, instead of locking it completely in here, just this will be enough. Probably just to, wow, they're just like, the thoughts come and go like no power. If you're not concentrating your attention on them, they don't do this kaleidoscope effect where you're suddenly into, oh no, it's so important that I need more money. And I have to solve this cannot stand, and this person, and we have all this world, which just step like this, and poof, like smoke in air, gone. So coming back to our postcard souvenir, looks like one, right? He obviously was talking about that. He was rendering all what we understand as serious knowledge, like philosophy, like understanding of things, like you think for a long time. Say, no, that's not it. You're not wise because of your thinking. Not only that, I know that I know nothing is obviously stating that outside of this little bubble of, you just step a little bit outside, there's only wonder. There is only, like when people take drugs and get a little bit out of this cloud, and it's suddenly everything, wow. But you definitely don't need drugs for that. You just need to root a little bit more in here, get out of yourself a little bit. Suddenly life is peaceful. So I know that presence that was noticed in your thoughts is a very interesting line of research. So I understand all of you were able to feel to some extent this mental activity. What was observing that mental activity?
I completely disengaged with my environment. I stopped. I actually forgot that I was here. It's not that I forgot. It's that my brain just wasn't focusing on that. My brain was just focusing on my body, my physical sensations, and trying to follow the guidance that you were giving. But I completely forgot my surrounding until my phone alarm rang, and I'm so sorry.
No, that was perfect.
So sorry.
No, that was perfect. Because it's great when you can sit still in the comfort of your room, but that's just to make it easy to notice. It's fantastic, actually, when in the middle of a meditation, something like that happens, because then you can, if you are paying attention, you can see your thoughts like, oh, this shouldn't be happening. Oh, now I'm back to normal. What's happening? I was just concentrated and I'm having an experience in meditation. Right? So thank you for not setting mute.
I did. It's an alarm, so it just goes off even when the phone is on the not disturb. I'll be more careful.
Thank you. It was a great experience to notice fully. Thank you for your sharing. She knows. Everyone is, we're just a few friends. This is just something that happens to be a tool to see if it is more useful for people who cannot attend for different reasons. But this should be like, we are one mind. We are trying together to experience what we were doing, not just like different meditators trying their best with different. We probably, hopefully, get to feel this sort of an intention binding us. There is great power in people sitting together with an honest intention of discovering. And feel free to, at any time, to say anything about how it was for you, of what I'm saying makes sense to you. So I know that I know nothing makes a lot of sense from the point of view that all this, so there is an I that obviously is not referring to this me, the philosopher, me, the wise man. There's something in you can observe all your mental activity. That should be like, I guess all of you in here had these moments of insight. For me, always reminds me of this moment where men discover fire, and you're just like. So in the same way, when you sort of notice, wait, I can notice everything in me all the time. Where is that camera? How are you feeling that? Where is that located? How can you feel that you're out? For most people, it feels like you are in the body. But if you've been long enough into meditation, at this point, you will notice all the time meditation is making you notice. Because in that noticing, there is a distance. And that distance is that wisdom. So what I understand from that very powerful thought that brings all our education down to ashes, is that the only knowledge you have is the knowledge of yourself. So the content of your mind is as good as the content of Instagram. Maybe practical sometimes, but mostly is irrelevant. So check your mind all the time. Like Instagram is super entertaining. But the reason why this doesn't happen more frequently is because we are so identified with the content. Like when we are watching a movie and you forget you are you and you are just in the character, and anything that happens to the character is like, oh no, oh no. And it's a damn movie. It's just pixels moving in a screen. And yet we feel that. In the same way, we have, with the power of concentration and imagination, we have condensed our living into just a little tiny spot, and we suffer so much. So the wider spaces are really good leaning point between physical and non-physical. Just the space itself, just observing space. That's why going on nature or going anywhere who says there's something in you that feels the space, and that's incredibly liberating. In Tibet, they always meditate in a very huge space. It is fantastic. Just to understand why it's fantastic to watch at the ocean or the sunset. Why it's so incredibly freeing in a way. So just noticing that voice in your head is not you. That's to know that anything you think you know, you don't know. And yet, I have even another twist for this line that I never thought of it, just because I printed it and I say, I never thought it like that. I know that I know no thing. Let me twist it. In Buddhism, they have this concept of emptiness, which is crucial to understanding and getting out of the nightmare. And no thing, they mean in a conceptual way. If you would observe your mind enough, you will notice that we are living, a lamp. Oh, it's just a lamp. Something I've seen many times. I never saw that one actually, but you don't even see it because your brain puts like a label into it, and we're moving through our past. Our experiences are already labeling. That's why we don't see anything, because our mind is so. So when you just leave that concept and go back to experiencing everything directly, just that sensory experience. We're not discussing any magical or any abstract space or no, sensory experience. If you don't conceptualize it, it turns fascinating, to say the least. And so no thing means that you're not thinking whatever it is. And if you don't do that, you don't in your mind put all these labels and compartments of, this is me, this is you. And I come to know, I know something. I know that the sun comes from the east, right? At the same time, you know that the sun doesn't come from any other place. So it's a lot of information all the time. So when I say I am this person, you're already stating I am not all of this. So what happens when you, just for a few minutes, allow yourself to rest in direct perception, even just sensory perception? Let me finish this and I will. And suddenly, if you're not conceptualizing, then there is this interesting observation like, wait, if I don't think this is this and that is that, where is the limit between this and that? I know this sounds a little bit more philosophical or abstract if you never ponder it, but if you really very closely look at your experience, just a flow of sensations. There is no me, there is no nothing that is not you. And so when they talk about emptiness, they don't talk about like empty of physical emptiness. They talk about the emptiness of you giving meaning in your own imagination to the rest of the world. So it seems like emptiness in a way, but just as a temporary, it's way more complex than that, but as a temporary way of going through this conversation, it's emptiness of conceptualization, and then it comes, space appears. Where was the space of this room before you notice it? It's just, everything becomes, and then I know that what I know in the sense of perceiving, in the sense of experience, is no thing is Buddhism. This is really Buddhism. This is, the more that I'm going around, it's Zen Buddhism actually is very, you could say is directly meaning that in that sense. So that implies no separation between you and anything in your experience, which is the closest to love that we could describe.
No, it was just to put in another word, it's very clear. Being more into our body and focusing on feeling and sensation allows us to get that direct experience and bypass the mind. That's what you're saying.
There is, I mean, if we have to, this unravels a lot. I mean, because there's a simplified version to that answer in a simple understanding of mind. This simple superficial activity we have, yes, and this is a very simple experience to realize, right? If you directly just look at something, you will notice that you're thinking about that something disappears. The superficial thinking. But it is true that some kind of background thinking is happening, more like your brain recognizing colors, shapes, things like that. That sense that things go deeper. And meditation goes even deeper than that. But that, of course, it doesn't make much sense to talk about these things unless you're sort of experiencing it. For you, it's not something you're interested in, you read in a book, but more something like you really start unraveling the direction of the experience of this moment, and things go as psychedelic as you could ever imagine. I mean, to the point as, for example, you were discussing about rapture. This is something that I'm not saying that is exactly what happened to you, but it's just related to what you were saying. If you do concentration with an object in meditation, by concentration I mean something very passive and very comfortable, and there's a feedback loop in perception and attention, and you become that. I mean, I don't want to make it sound strange, but if your attention span is long enough, there is something that happens, and that's where the classical yogi, where they would just be absorbed for days and days and days and days, just in the same position, and they literally just like absolutely consume in ecstasy. And they will, if you read the text or the directions for that, you will hear all the time about non-physical. Because I'm just saying that something as simple as following one single object, if you do it long enough, it will implode sensory perception. So I'm just trying to say that without going into an abstract, this is an objective experience, and that's what meditation and this tradition are saying. They are not saying believe anything. They're just saying go and check it, sit there and observe.
Because I've noticed personally that my most meaningful experience in meditation is when I actually, it's hard to explain, the kind of, I'm much more in my body, and also my sensation gets like I have very strong body sensation, like a vibration.
Mm.
A bit, it's I have a wave of vibration going up
Mm.
and down, and
Mm.
it's a very warm feeling.
Yeah, that's in Buddhism. It's called as piti. That also happens. Piti. Piti is an energy. It's a blissful energy that happens when you start meditating to some depth. Start becoming meditation turns into. Many people nowadays think meditation is some kind of like peaceful, just tranquil thing, but no, it can turn into very deep, profound ecstasy. So that in terms of development, just bringing up Buddhism just because it seems to be fitting. If you follow that sensation of pleasure in the body, if you could say pleasure, but it's just something that is definitely, you make that your object, that's the way you actually keep going deeper. Because a sensory object, it will lead you only to certain amount of concentration. I mean, the text, which are very specific and been there for a very long time and tested for many, many thousands of people, say very clearly in every discipline from Buddhism, Hinduism, that sensory concentration, let's say if you take an object that is physical, it will only take you so far. You won't hold it for longer. I'm just going to tell you like a very rough estimation, but 1 hour. After that, what people who develop this deep concentration, they switch into a more subtle object. So that, for example, in that case, will be that physical sensation, and then they just focus on the feeling itself, which is more and more non-located, non-related to your body even at some point. There's a detachment, like when you fall asleep and you lose awareness of your senses. It's not complete 100%, but it's mostly like when you're in deep sleep. Something that you notice, but it's very deep. I normally don't like to talk so much about these depths. It makes it look like esoteric or something. But in the other hand, it is kind of what it is. I mean, for some people would be interesting to see, oh wow, what could be the experience of that? Can I really relax and concentrate? Is this really going to happen? Why you go to text, you go to Yoga Sutras, you go to the Upanishads, they say very specific things about all this. And you say, okay, is this a joke? Is just an analogy? Is that, what is that? No, they mean it very directly, straightforward. But you will need to develop, I don't know, something like 24 hours level of concentration. And most of these very deep disciplines we're doing in isolation for a very long time. I don't think it's necessary. I just wanted to comment. I was talking about this kind of rapture meditation, which is based on an object. But it's also true that you, as the meditator, you don't need to concentrate. Because it's something in you that says, I'm going to sit, I'm going to concentrate. Okay, that's one way to go. But you could just go beyond the meditator. And then, why I'm saying this, because going back to Zen, if you go to Zen, you will find a lot of spirituality that doesn't look spiritual, because they talk about the senses. They talk about ordinary experiences. For example, one master being asked, how is it to be enlightened? And he would say, well, when I do the dishes, I do the dishes. When I sweep the floor, I sweep the floor. And they ask, wait, I do also that? No, you do a lot more than that. Your head is super busy, like 300 times while you. So this all points to, and the reason for these bells and certain simple experiences in meditation is Japan, again, Zen, they have the tea ceremony, which is just basically as conscious as possible, drink a tea. Brings about that it's not, you don't need to go out of the senses, really. All this is just a strategy. but some people won't feel inclined to do that. And you can get to take the senses as a path instead of having a technique which will lead you beyond the senses, which is also a possibility. But I guess, how do you measure the how far you are in meditation, how well you're doing, how deep you are in all this? And probably is by pure joy. So if you say, oh, I got this thing of meditation, how sad. No, that's all. That's where you set the bar. Like, okay, I know I can meditate, you know. Some people go there on YouTube saying, I'm enlightened. What is to be enlightened, really? I mean, who gets enlightened? I mean, I'm not saying that some people saying that they are trying to make a point in some things, but I'm just saying that you just want to feel like you know nothing. That in Zen, again, probably we'll have to talk about Zen. We should have to talk about Zen. We're doing it. They talk about beginner's mind, which is when you just know that you don't know exactly what we're discussing. And if you apply that to now when we leave this place where we're talking and deeply paying attention to everything, just go into your life, you just sensory directly explore everything. That's it. That's the meditation. You don't need to sit. You don't need to do anything. So your senses are very much welcome. Your body is very much welcome in meditation. You don't need to deny it. You don't need to... The point will be not to feel very attached. But if you really observe it, you will detach from it naturally. The more you observe the sensations in your body, one day you're going to get to the direct experiential understanding. I am not my body because I can feel it. It is there. It is not there. It is there. It is not there. It goes and go. And if you observe the body, and here is something that's very interesting. Nobody thinks. I never thought about it when I heard it for the first time. I exploded into. If you pay attention to what's happening right now, your body, you're actually just not feeling all your body. You're just noticing. It's like a sea of sensations. What does mean, if you put that into the context of a meditation and you just drop your conceptual activity long enough, at some point, you cannot tell what is your body and what is not. Not in a I'm in trance kind of way, in the most clear, direct, profound way. There's a body sensation, but it's just like anything else. It's like any sound on the street. It's like anything else. You cannot attach a personality to it. Does this make sense to you?
Yeah, I was wondering, in your opinion, because this detachment of the body is not something I've heard. We usually focus on the detachment from the mind. And is that harder than the detachment from the mind? Can you explain? Like,
mind, which, what is...
From the body and from the mind.
Here comes definitions. For example, in Buddhism and the meditation we did, by that way you could figure out, that's kind of very Buddhist, where your mind is everything. Not just your body, not just an extension of the activity of your brain. In Buddhism, mind is everything. Everything you could ever experience is mind, in any level. So, meaning that I'm just saying that some things will be, some things that even mention, I'm meaning in this other way, but in the, I guess you're saying it in the most common way of understanding mind. Because an interesting point is to notice where is that line between body and mind. That's an interesting area. Where do you notice this is my body and this is my mind? Because in the common way of using the word mind, it is an extension of our body. I'm not saying that it is. I'm saying that's the experience we have. Some people, when say my mind, they mean that. In that sense, I would say that if you detach from your body, that's why some paths emphasize the body instead of the mind. It's because what happens if you detach from your body completely? Like, if your body dies, okay, no problem. You know, that kind of level of detachment from your body. Then what's left of a mind? Because thoughts are sort of, the body biologically is sort of like making like a node where thoughts cross. So if that node is not there, then I'm saying this, I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, because you answer what is more difficult, if it's more difficult to observe the mind or the body. I think it's very personal. As I say, you could take the body as a path. You don't need to mess around with the mind much. You just need to make sure that you're not conceptualizing about your experience. But if you go for your body leads to your mind, definitely. And I think what it works for most people is to, when you observe your body, you observe anything you sense, right? So it's not just these cells, but any sensory input you have it through your body. The images we see are sort of created in our brain. I don't know if you notice or know this kind of stuff. So at some point, everything started melting a lot. So through just observing your body and observing all your senses, then you'll notice your mind. The common sense of mind, the meaning, implies your mind is always thinking in something you can sense. It's an interesting thing. Try to ever think in something you cannot sense. Even in a subtle way, a feeling, or still a feeling is something physically you notice. You can tell, oh yeah, I feel like this. But mind, in that sense, in the common sense of the word mind, conceptualizing mind, it builds on sensory input. That's why when we go sleep, most people lose awareness, although you're still there when you're deep sleep. You're still there. Otherwise, you wouldn't wake up in the morning. So there is something that is there. But why we lose awareness? Why we lose? Because we're so attached to this mind, that's attached to the senses, that when the senses stop working, we don't remember. But a lot of things happen at night to everyone. Thank you so much for coming, for sharing this moment. Really appreciate your attention, your energy, your awareness, your care, your loving presence. I wish you a beautiful week. Thank you.